Hello, everyone. So, today I will talk to you about sadness. What is sadness and why do we feel it? Basically, sadness is this emotion and that feeling we sense when a part of our needs are not met. When we may feel incomplete on the inside, when something hurtful happens or we feel afraid. We believe that sadness is the opposite of happiness. However, you need to ponder, isn't it an important emotion to feel? If there was no sadness, we would never experience the joy of happiness and its value. There's always two opposites in this world, a good and a negative, and they can't exist without each other. See, if there was no bad times, we would never comprehend the beauty of good times. It's all about the beauty of the moment. We might not even feel grateful for them, for those emotions, or the beauty of good times, and take them for granted. So, yes, sadness is an emotion, and it is very much as important as happiness. It is a part of you. The emotions you feel is your body's reaction to something it doesn't like, a response to your expectations not being met. But the truth is, no one likes being sad, and when we are upset or sad, nowadays, or most of the time, we prefer to distract ourselves from it, find a way to avoid it, and perhaps entertain ourselves, go somewhere else, stop thinking about it, and maybe distractions such as binge eating, playing games, or even going to the gym and exercising. But you know what's really important at times of sadness? It is understanding why you are sad. Sadness is a signal for you to check what's going on within you, to check yourself and see what you truly want. Some people never find out what they truly want in life, and I would say it holds true for the most of us. We eventually miss the mark. We try to understand what the outside world is like, but we don't even get to know ourselves on the inside. We are very less self-aware, and less self-awareness doesn't only mean that we don't see our flaws and we don't see the good that we do. It's also about truly knowing ourselves, our limits, what we're capable of, and what triggers us, triggers our weaknesses, triggers anything about us. We busy ourselves our entire lives trying to get to know other people, but we've never once tried to get to know ourselves. We try to dictate what other people are like. We try to dictate what the world outside is like, but we've never once tried to dictate or get to know ourselves first, and that's very, very dangerous. This can be problematic. Instead of distracting yourself from emotions such as sadness, you should try to feel it. You should see what your body is trying to tell you, and only by letting yourself experience these feelings, you're able to heal. There are so many individuals who suppress any feelings of sadness they feel, who force themselves out of it, but in forcing or suppressing, their sadness leads to a reaction in them that may be less healthy. Because obviously, if something comes into you, if you experience something and you feel something from that experience, it's a signal for you. See, sadness is also an opportunity for inner reflection, to build up self respect and understand if you really want a specific treatment or if you have an unresolved issue. The issue becomes apparent, and we become blinded by issues when we ignore the cause, maybe due to mental issues or trauma. See, I want you to know that none of us, not even one of us, made ourselves, designed our emotions, and we don't know the external world, nor the internal one. And I want you to know that sadness actually leads to better healing, and you should give yourself time to feel and experience. It's important because it helps you build up self-respect. It helps you see where someone missed the mark. And it really shows you if someone treats you a certain way and you're sad, if you have an unresolved issue. If we ignore the cause for sadness, it directly affects our state of our heart. Sometimes people feel permanent sadness, and that may be due to mental issues or trauma, but it's also crucial to know this. And I want you to know that none of us, not even one of us, made ourselves, designed our emotions, and we don't even understand the external world, nor our own. It's quite a lot on our bodies that they have to deal with, and they deserve slack for it. We do a lot of things. There's a reason for all our emotions and abilities. They are meant to help us. They are there to regulate us. It's the way we need water. We need food, because without it we wouldn't survive. It's the same when we feel something. And we do not make use of our abilities, our emotions, and even if they're sadness or negative, then we can't let ourselves heal or understand ourselves. The most important part to understanding life is to know who you are. Unfortunately, many of us think that we know who we are, but we really don't. We don't understand or experience or realize any of the triggers that lead to reactions in us. We don't reflect on how a specific experience shaped us and changed us. We never realize it, or we realize it in a very small amount. Our emotions, especially negative ones, give light to those issues. If you feel severe emotions such as hatred, jealousy, and frustration, it's a warning sign in a way that you need to look within yourself and try to understand what's going on. These have a more severe effect and say a lot about you and your environment. You should take your time and read yourself when you experience these. Now, if you never get to know yourself, then how do you expect to understand the world around you and understand other people if you haven't understood yourself and what you're made of? You will just become a catalytic reaction of your environment. And let me tell you something else. When you don't learn about yourself, your flaws, your emotions, your objectives, then what are you following? Life will always reflect your inner state at all times. It always will. And I don't know if anyone has experienced this, but every time I meet people, they are like me. May it be in a good sense or in a bad sense. They have one part of my personality, one portion of who I am, and they have that part, and they may be different in different ways. But what connects us is that there's something common between us, and this becomes the string that attaches me to them. It's always at least one thing. It's always at least one thing that's similar, and I am aware because I analyze myself on a deeper level. See, when you focus on the inside and understand yourself, you might eventually attract different types of people. Sometimes, we might be hypocritical in some sense and may attract people who have the same type of hypocrisy but are in different ways, or have different beliefs but they're still hypocritical about it. So, see people that you don't like so much that are in your life, and see, is there something that you have in common? Is there something about your personality that's exactly the same but maybe in a completely different way because you have different beliefs? It's very interesting, and maybe you will see that many people things that you don't like, you might have a bit of their personality or a bit of their mindset, and sometimes it's just perception. It's the way you believe, the things that you believe in. If you believe that all people are terrible, you will attract this type of energy from people. You will attract them being terrible to you because that's what you truly believe in. It's your faith, and you will always attract your faith. That's something that's very important to know. You create rules about your life based on faith. And whatever you believe in, you get this too. So if you have just chosen to stop seeing life as it is, being open-minded to it, and you just strongly believe that everyone is terrible, you might meet the most amazing people, but because you have that lens, your actions or something about you will bring that out in them. So it always goes both ways. And other times people attract individuals based on their trauma. So similar people to the trauma that they used to have. This kind of feeds into the belief system as well, but it's also trauma, which is really difficult to control, and it's very difficult, so that's something else. Now, for everyone watching, for the first category, I highly recommend you to do an activity and send me a DM or a comment in a few months' time. I want you to really look into the similarities and the things that you don't like in people outside of you, things you don't like. Write a list of all those things you dislike and see if you have even one of the things that are in common, or something that you've done to someone perhaps in the past and this person is doing to you, but maybe in a different sense. I want you to write it down. And the moment you do this, I want you to really, I would even say, apologize to God, to nature, whatever it is, or work on that specific behavior that you're doing that you hate in another person. You have to really look at yourself, and that's the only way you get ahead in life, is when you look at yourself. Otherwise, you're stuck in a loop. So it's really crucial you do this and send me a DM and see how your life changes. Now, DM or comment. So even when it's someone else, your emotions and your heart will tell you whether a person should be in your life or not. And yes, sadness is sad. I know it's not a nice emotion to have, but the question becomes, how do we deal with the word sadness? Sadness is a signal. It's our body's signal to tell us something. It's the way we see people from the outside, and we see their expressions, and we can see what they're thinking or feeling about a specific event. It's the same way when we feel sad. That's a mirror to ourselves. That's how we see our emotions and how we feel, because we can't see ourselves most of the time. It's our signal, and it's important to respect our signal, understand it, and not neglect it, because everything exists in you for a reason. Every single cell in your body has a reason. It's important. Every time, for example, binge eating, yes? Let's say someone who binge eats a lot. Every time you binge eat, it will pass from your mouth and end up in your body. You're not gonna, unless you have physical activities and a very, very, very quick metabolism, it's going to show on your body. Every action, everything about you, every action you do will show up in your life. It's obvious, and it goes much deeper than this. So of course, if you treat someone a specific way and you're not aware, you will see the same treatment happen to you, whether you like it or not. It's very clear in that sense. And so therefore, your experiences, your emotions are definitely a signal based on the purpose you set out for yourself, the thing that you want specifically, the core value that you have. And when you feel sad, it's because you don't have what you really want. And sometimes when we don't know what we really want, that's where our emotion, our sadness helps us figure this out. So the question becomes, how do we deal with the word sadness? Like, how do we deal with something, an emotion that actually ruins our day? What do we do when we feel happy, and what do we do when we feel sad? Now, I want to ask you this question. Are these the same activities that you do when you're sad and the same activity you do when you're happy? This would show a lot. This would show you how much you let your emotions control you versus how much you control your emotions. You're supposed to experience sadness, but will you let it control you? I'll give you an example. If sadness, let's say, makes you binge eat, while happiness makes you motivated for your goals and success and any accomplishment you've set for yourself, and you're like running towards it, you're working hard, do you know what this means? It means you have underestimated the power of action and changing things. Something really interesting is that an addiction forms when we do something enjoyable or fun at the time of our sadness, or when we're grieving, to distract ourselves. This temporary happiness leads to an addiction. It becomes our dependency. And this is where things get dangerous. This is how an addiction starts, truly starts. And therefore, if you act on dependencies at the time of your sadness, this emotion was not for nothing. It couldn't heal you. The signal didn't reach you. You didn't reflect. But let me tell you something else. Now imagine you have reflected within yourself in an external situation that you understand why it makes you sad. What should you do? Now think about the external environment and assess if it's really worth weighing heavily on you without trying to repress it. If someone's flaws should really evoke such a lasting reaction in you that you lose valuable seconds of your life worrying about someone else's shortcoming that they haven't seen in themselves, because again, most people don't know themselves. Should you set boundaries? Should you reconsider your own objectives? Should you seek support? Are your expectations reasonable and realistic? It's very important whenever you're feeling anything to look at yourself first. We can always point the fingers at anyone else outside of us. It's easy to do that. There's always a million reasons something can go wrong, a million interpretations for any scenario, anything. And this is why sometimes there's so much misunderstanding, so many miscommunications, because we're focused on the external world, and we can interpret things in so many ways. Now, I want you to look at yourself first and see, are your expectations reasonable and realistic? And how would you feel if someone had these expectations of you? What is going on for you? And sometimes for some people, if you have someone to talk this through, talk to them about your feelings. And you should. And if you don't have someone to talk about this to, then take a moment and be like a friend to yourself. Be the friend you've always wanted. And besides, criticize yourself. You have to be a friend to yourself and also see things in an objective manner. You have to talk to yourself or see yourself objectively. Are you making sense? And if you were in another person's shoes, would you like it if someone treated you the way you're treating someone else, or feeling what others are feeling? And sometimes we tend to say, yeah, I'm the best, I'm the most caring person, I do so much for others, and no one does the same for me, and no one does this and this for me. But you know what's funny? Everyone thinks that. Every single person, even though those people who are treating you horribly, they think the same of themselves, that they would never do this to someone else, although they might be doing it. So therefore, just look at yourself and then see yourself objectively, as if you're a friend trying to help a friend, because you have yourself. And sometimes you will understand your situation best if you tell someone about your situation. They will filter it through their own lens of you, their own lens of life, and they can't really grasp the situation the way it is. But sometimes people also have a wider perspective that might definitely help you. So it's definitely important to assess a situation by talking to others as well. So most of us think that we're perfect. But that's the thing, that everyone you believe is imperfect, that they also believe they're perfect. Because everyone is giving their best, but we all have weaknesses that we throw in the shadows. We have the sadness, all the negative feelings, all of that, we just throw it to the background and the back of our head, and we don't even think about it. But it surfaces because happiness, whatever the positive is equal to the negative. And we don't take care of our shadows. It actually rules our life. That's where we lose control over our lives. And know that your weakness is not a flaw, and it might have been developed because of something you've experienced in the past, or something you've never thought about or reflected, and it becomes a part of you and your norm. It is an attribute you never questioned, a response you never considered. And see, this approach of completely neglecting your emotion harms nobody but us. And if we think that we're so perfect, then who do we point the fingers at? Everyone. But will this get us anywhere? If we spend our entire lives despising others, despising life, despising everything around us, then where will it get us? And on top of that, life is so short. Where will we go? Will we ever experience happiness? Why are we tipping the balance? No. All we will experience is sadness. The balance is tipped. This indicates that something is wrong. When your feelings are out of balance, it always indicates that something is wrong. And if we live this way, we will always believe that the world is our enemy, that every person is our enemy, and we will never end up learning about ourselves. and we will never end up growing. We will learn to make excuses only. We will try to villainize everyone, and in that way we've given our power to everyone except for us. If we want to find excuses, we will always find excuses. If we want to blame someone, we will always blame. We can always blame anyone. In some way, it always makes sense. But why does it make sense? Yeah, because we're all connected. Everything around us is more connected than we will ever know. We're like a network. We think we're individual humans, but we're all a network. We can blame others, or should we grow? Now, even if it's someone's fault, we shouldn't put the finger or blame on them. Now, why not blame the person who's partially at fault? Because it's not good for you. Because it will lead to greater misery than taking it in your hands and working on it. You basically make yourself, your life, and your outcome dependent on people or other people. You give them the power to influence you and your life. Is this a good and rational decision? See, it's literally harming yourself, just so you can give someone a label, and that leads to bitterness. You will become like a little puppet that everyone can play with, like a puppet, and that's really bad for you. I'll give you a little example. You have a baby. Now, how do babies learn? They watch. They try, they fail, they try, they fail, they try again until they got it. They get up one day, they can speak. Because they've been trying the whole time since they're born. They're trying to see what's around them, they're trying to mimic it. Have you ever heard of an human offspring, aside from any disorders, who has chosen not to learn a language and not learn to walk? No, it doesn't exist. Every baby can. Every baby tried. What could babies do? They could complain that life didn't provide them with the ability to walk and the ability to talk. Where would they end up? They would never end up learning and growing. If a baby says, or like if a baby refuses to learn or want to learn to walk or talk, the world would think something is wrong with them. But isn't this what we're doing most of the time? The issue with us adults is that we think we have it all figured out. That we have become an adult and that's it. And that there's no more growth required. But this is where we are all wrong. See what babies do, they compare themselves. They compare others to themselves, and if they see growth, they grow while seeing their own abilities. A baby won't try to immediately learn how to run. They won't try to run immediately because they're seeing their own abilities. See, the most successful individuals you'll ever meet or see, may it be on social media, may it be on the internet, are those who develop skills, who work on themselves, and who grow and grow and grow. Because at the end of the day, we don't know anything. And we can't know anything. We can't know everything. We're just human, and we have all these emotions, these unknown feelings and needs that just came out of nowhere, that we didn't even create. We just have them, and we have to use this avatar to lead our lives. So accept the emotions you have, understand them, and embrace them. Don't shun them away. And know that you can achieve your own happiness. You can make yourself happy. You alone can fulfill that emptiness in your heart. You don't even need another person, and if you really need help, then ask God to help you. Ask the one who gave you those feelings, those unknown abilities, because if you believe in a God, that God would understand the unknown and understand what you're feeling, because he sees everything. I guess in religions they call this guidance. But if you don't believe in a faith, then still ask a creator for those emotions to help you with those emotions. Let me give you a little guide on how to handle those emotions. Number 1, identify why you feel sad. Number 2, give yourself time to experience it and analyze the reasons behind it. 3, what are you working towards right now? What is your purpose? Imagine you feel this sadness or emptiness as a signal that it's time to reflect. Our bodies and minds are stronger, much stronger than we could ever comprehend. A person who lacks purpose feels emptiness, and sometimes it's our feelings really reflect our environment. this is what we feel because we're connected to the external environment. We're connected to what we are externally and internally. So ask yourself, what is your purpose? And if you don't have a purpose, let me tell you what your purpose is right now. Your purpose is the thing that you think about most of the time, the thing that affects your mood the most, the one thing that influences your actions the most, the thing you do in whatever it takes to achieve it, the thing you work hardest for. Now, what is it? See, it could be anything from wanting others to validate you, wanting temporary happiness, dopamine, a lot of dopamine, or to be wanting to become a better version of yourselves and bring about change in the world. Or maybe it might just be comfort. Maybe it might be getting really wealthy, or yeah, comfort, wealth, riches, a specific person. See, the purpose is the thing that you think about most. Your purpose is the one thing that pushes you to act in the direction you are going. Now, once you identify the purpose, are you experiencing the sadness because you're not achieving that purpose of yours? Most likely. Or is it something else that you love, or that someone hurt you? Now, it's very important you identify this. In fact, you can write it in a journal, but this, even if you just identify it, it helps you get to know yourself. Now, don't become addicted to sadness, though. It is a very dangerous place to be in. Remember, it's a feeling that you should acknowledge as a signal to see the direction you're heading, or the healing you need to understand the state of your heart. This is all that sadness means, not more and not less. It's your signal. Are you satisfied with the purpose you're living? If not, can you change your purpose? And how do you identify your purpose? How do you get the motivation for a new purpose? I can definitely talk about this in another video. If you're interested, just let me know. But let's go a step deeper for now. What is the point of a purpose? See, we as human, we will always follow something, whether we realize it or not. We will always have a purpose, whether it's self-destructive or not. Well, we will always follow that path, and that path either makes us or breaks us, and makes or breaks the ones around us. So, is every purpose okay? See, maybe that purpose has been shaping our reality. And this channel specifically uncovers many aspects of what your purpose is and can be, because your purpose is your heart. And once you've understood your heart, you have power. And once you know yourself, you become undefeatable. It will be as though you know the entire universe, because our inner world literally reflects our external world and the universe. So once you understand yourself, you will understand others and live peacefully, because we are almost the same. And you'd be surprised. You wonder why social media performs so well? Yes, because everyone is the same and everyone can relate. So take this as a lesson, and I will definitely help you find your purpose for yourself, because if you don't, you might live a life of regret, or you might not even realize that you're living a life of regret. You will never know what's possible for you, never realizing what life was meant to be and why you're here. I think this is the biggest question we need to ask ourselves. And if you have questions, let me know. So, to finalize this, sadness is good. Every emotion is good. It's a part of yourself. Never be an enemy to yourself. You need to accept yourself. Take things easy on yourself and never be too harsh. Because once you accept yourself, you, your body, your soul is willing to change if you want that change. Because look, at the end of the day, you're just a human. And you're just a person, and you're valuable. You're sweet, and you're just living life and exploring what's around you. So don't take life too personally, and don't take yourself too personally. Just live and grow. And I'll leave you with this for today. Wishing you a lovely day ahead.